Greetings, beloveds. We are the founders. The channel wanted to make sure we let everybody know that all our messages will be contained in a book at some point. What is your earth expression? Don't hold your breath waiting. Okay, we are trying to have a sense of humor here. Apparently writing a book takes a fair amount of concentration and such. The actual receiving of the information is quite straightforward, but it is the preparation, editing and production of the book that requires the energetic output. At any rate, today we examine the major wars and infusions of souls onto your world that mark the beginning of what you call violence and conflict. For many of you, this will not be a pretty picture, but I suspect most of you are mature souls now and can handle a little unpleasantry amidst all the glorious creation. Your Earth was not the only planet in your system that received that attention. 10 million years ago there were 3 planets that harbored life forms: Earth, Mars and Meldic. These were the 3rd, 4th and 5th planets from your Sun at the time. Yes, the environment on the 4th and 5th planets was colder and less hospitable than on Earth, but that did not stop the ETS from colonizing these worlds. Those that came to Mars and Meldic were adventurous sorts, willing to endure the harsh winters and barren landscapes that dotted these planets, although there were forests and plant life in the equatorial regions, and plenty of water and ice in the polar regions. Many of those souls that perished during the Great Flood of Earth reincarnated on Mars and Meldic. The civilizations already developing on those worlds were from many different star systems, and now the Pleiadian root race joined the mix. As you can imagine, the beings now residing on those worlds had dropped in vibration to the 4th density. Souls born into a 4th density world did not receive the same kind of loving attention that souls in 7th density experience. These outer planets were therefore the repository for a bizarre array of thought forms and thought creations, thereby resulting in a rich and varied astral realm, the realm of thought creation, imagination and the dream state. Throughout this period, many beings from across the galaxy had taken notice of the Earth experiment and its neighboring planets. A group of souls from the Draco star system sent scout craft to Earth about 40 million years ago, and again roughly 1 or 2 million years before the Great Flood about 12 million years ago. Although they did not settle in Massa, their reports back to the Draconian councils put Earth, Mars and Meldic on the map for exploration and possible conquest. Another group, from the constellation of Orion, also took notice of the fledgling Earth souls and their compatriots on Mars and Meldic. We of the 7th and 12th densities were still monitoring the Earth experiment closely, and these less than savory civilizations from Orion and Draco were not able to gain the foothold on Earth due to our careful observation. It would have like marching into our laboratory and announcing they were taking over the experiment. We had a protective vibration around Earth and things like this didn't happen, at least not at that time. However, the same protections were not afforded Mars and Meldic because, quite frankly, that was not our terrain. These planets were more of a free-for-all. And so come they did, in small numbers at first, as scouts and small settlements amidst the existing communities. Once interbreeding began to occur, the souls from Orion and Draco began incarnating as well. The Draco reptilian form found it hard to adapt to the Mars and Meldic environments, and reincarnation became the preferred method of infusing oneself into these worlds. Both the Orion and Draco systems had a wide variety of conscious beings, and the explorers who settled on Mars and Meldic were quite aggressive and warrior-like in their mentality. Their main purpose in coming to Earth's solar system was conquest and mining of natural resources. Basically, anything that would give them power and prestige. These souls had long ago forgotten their connection to Source, and felt they needed to take from others in order to feel whole and complete. It was not long before war started to break out on Mars and Meldick. Due to Mars' proximity to Earth, and the watchful gaze of our members, the Orions and Draconians were less willing to reincarnate in mass numbers on Mars. They preferred the relative distance of Meldick. They began coming in record numbers, and pretty soon the Meldikian civilization numbered in the millions of souls. They built great cities out of stone, and in matching their consciousness, these cities had great fortresses and towers to afford protection from attack. At some point, the Meldikian peoples discovered neutron technology and began manufacturing bombs and wartime implements. At that time, several million years ago, there were no safeguards in place to prevent the runaway consequences of this technology. Although the Meldikian civilization began over 10 million years ago in Earth time, it continued to evolve into a series of warring factions. This warring attracted the attention of both benevolent and malevolent groups from various systems around the galaxy, but because of the non-interference agreement and protection of free will, little was done to intervene. About 3,200,000 years ago, the conflicts escalated and the neutron weapons were deployed. It was supposed to be a limited nuclear exchange between two of the warring factions. At this point, the DNA of the souls were a mixture of Draconian and Orion strands, both of which contained the aggressive genes. Each side in this conflict, although both sides had similar DNA, wanted to outdo the other, and the weapons grew increasingly larger and more numerous. The first exchange only destroyed a few thousand humanoids. The side most damaged would rebuild and retaliate, each time with greater devastation. Although it seemed to be discovered by accident, a particularly powerful neutron bomb was developed using the rare combination of elemental catalysts. The scientists involved in its development did not realize the extent of its destructive capabilities. This weapon was fired at a military base hidden underground in enemy territory. Within this base were hundreds of neutron weapons. The enemy, realizing the bomb was coming, attempted to get their base weapons airborne. Several dozen of the several hundred weapons were launched and exploded in the sky, creating a brilliant flash. However, they were unable to intercept the oncoming more powerful weapon, and it entered the silos of the enemy and simultaneously ignited over 200 weapons buried in the ground. The combination of the explosion of the more powerful weapon and the 200 conventional nuclear weapons resulted in a powerful earthquake that tore apart the planet of Meldick and eventually broke it into hundreds of fragments, which became the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. Over 10 million souls perished in the blast, and these souls later reincarnated on Mars. We and the other benevolent groups were horrified at what happened and petitioned the Godhead for a greater level of intervention to prevent this from ever happening again. The resulting blast altered the orbits of Mars and Earth and severely disrupted the etheric bases on Jupiter and Saturn. A wave of electromagnetic disruption went out from the solar system, and beings from all over the galaxy took notice. The council was convened in the Alcyone system, home of the Great White Brotherhood, and it was established that no more complete planetary destruction would be allowed anywhere in the galaxy.